uniting us. I think this is where we come from and say Africa, and I think the discussion is about investment opportunities in Africa. I'm not a government official, so I'm not going to go and pitch and say this is my government or whatever. We as a company are investing in Kenya, in Uganda, we've got plantations in Tanzania, in Madagascar, and our goal as a company, born and brought up in Kenya, is to go all over Africa and just be in Africa. We're not going to Asia, we're not going to India, we're going to stay in Africa, and that's where we see opportunity. I think if I was doing a pitch here to say come and invest, I would say don't come and invest in Africa. Do not come. If you are a short-term harvester, if you want to come and say, let me go and harvest something and take it back from Africa, do not come to Africa. If you are a planter and you want to plant something and say, fine, let's plant this tree, let's make it happen, and let's look at the long term, because it is long term. In the long term, the benefits are there. I think every pitch that's been made by everyone here today would be about the opportunity, the potential. I say this very openly. In Kenya, we're now 55 years since independence. We have been potential for a long time, and we will remain potential unless we do something about it. And the same thing goes for Africa. When you see the McKinsey report that says 60% of the arable land in Africa is unused arable land. Unused. Now, if you're wearing the specs of a pessimist, you would say, uh-oh, big problem, what are the Africans doing? If you wear the specs of an opportunist and say, wow, that is opportunity, that 60% can be converted into arable and Africa can feed the whole world. By size, Africa is the largest physical continent. I think it's over 3 billion square kilometers or something. It's pretty large. On physical size, it's big. There's a lot of potential, there's a lot of opportunity. However, we must understand Africa, and Africa is not one country. Africa is 54 countries, and 54 different presidents, 54 different governments. However, it is linked in a way whereby in Africa, we have something called the RECs, the Regional Economic Communities. The regional economic communities come together, as in Kenya, we have East African Community. That's composed of 6 countries: Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania, Rwanda, Burundi, South Sudan now, and Somalia will soon join in, and DRC Congo will soon join in. That becomes one customs territory under the East African Customs Union. Now that means that duty-free, tariff-free access to all those markets are available if you're manufacturing in Kenya or in Uganda or in EAC markets. The same thing exists for SADC in South Africa, South African Development Corporation. They have SACU there, South African Customs Union. Same thing they have is duty-free access in that market. So you can say Eastern Africa is one zone, Southern Africa is another zone, Central Africa is another zone, West Africa again is different. And then you've got the North Africa. A lot of the North Africans believe that they're part of MENA. MENA means Middle East and North Africa. That's slightly different. So the cultural practices are different. However, if you see the way business is done in India, the way people work in India, Eastern Africa has a lot of similarities because English speaking, so there's fluency there. Plus, I think a lot of the former British colonies have similar laws. And therefore, India is a British colony, former British colony. A lot of African countries are former British colonies, so they have this similar laws, similar things happening. And I think today Africa is reforming a lot. So reforms are happening politically, socially, and economically. And I think a lot of the presidents now are of the new age, where they're all looking and saying, let's go and improve the environment because we want progress. Today we are 1.3 billion people in Africa. The prediction is by 2050, we shall be 2.4 or 2.5 billion, depending on our fertility rates. I think that's not stopping at all. However, you can say this is a time bomb. You can say, wow, 2.5 billion people, this is going to be crazy. Where's the employment coming from? If you wear the specs of opportunity, you can say 2.5 billion. That means they have to wake up in the morning, they have to clean themselves up, bathe, whatever. They need housing, they need education, they need everything that a human needs. And they're not going below where they are today. I think we've got the bottom of the pyramid already. We're all progressing. I think India is the same way. We're actually progressing much faster. So that's the big issue in Africa. There is the bottom of the pyramid market. That is big. Then there's a middle that's growing and bulging now. And then there's a top that's remaining small, but it's not going to be that big. However, the opportunity lies at the bottom of the pyramid and the middle of the pyramid. That's where consumption is happening. And when people go up from the bottom of the pyramid and they go to the middle class and they start looking at consumption, that's where the consumption story is. And Africa is a big consumption story. Similarly, I think it's happened in India. So if you take India 15, 20 years ago, and the opportunities that were there here in India are existing in Africa today. The question is it going to be the big boys of India who are going to come and invest there? Or is it going to be the middle level companies going to invest there? Or is it the small companies going to invest there? I believe a lot of small companies in India, investment opportunities for them, they don't even have the outreach or the people or the SME type of opportunities to go out there. So it's going to be the middle and the larger companies. I think the larger companies in India are very happy in India. They would not want to move out because they look at the figures and say, oh, what's the total GDP? What's this? It's not interesting for us. So where I see serious opportunity for investing by Indians into Africa is the middle level companies and the mid-sized companies. In that, if we talk about infrastructure, the mega infrastructure projects